have 1 hour of conversation coming up from now till 9 o'clock. And we are live on Facebook and also on YouTube at Nigeria Info FM. You're welcome to the show. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I am Sheriff Quadry. It's a beautiful day, right? Wednesday, November 20, 2019. And we're talking comprehensive sexuality education, particularly as regards our children. I didn't say, adults. Our children. It's getting really scary. That is the expression by some parents.
I don't see any big deal.
It's especially in Nigeria here. You don't see any big deal.
No.
Let's get to that conversation
Well,
first,
today is November 20th. He's Sheriff Quadry, by the way.
Well, she is Wemimo Adewuni.
Introductions. Today, November 20th, is World Children's Day, celebrated annually. The goal of Universal Children's Day is to 1. Improve child welfare worldwide. 2. Promote and celebrate children's rights. And 3. Promote togetherness and awareness. Underline. Amongst all children. On the show today, we will highlight issues around children's rights, especially on growing concerns of parents on the teachings on sexualities in Nigerian schools. According to UNESCO, comprehensive sexuality education is a curriculum-based process of teaching and learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality. Primarily, it aims to equip children and young people with knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values that will empower them to realize their health, their well-being, their dignity, and develop respectful social and sexual relationships. Also, it aims to help them consider how their choices affect their own well-being and that of others, and to understand and ensure the protection of their rights throughout their lives. It is thought that comprehensive sexuality education is essential because it is believed that too many young people receive confusing and conflicting information about relationships and sex as they make the transition from childhood to adulthood.
So research reveals that comprehensive sex education was developed in the West, particularly in the United States of America. As a result of the rapid development of comprehensive sexual education, it is now being implemented in most countries around the world. Is Nigeria involved? We'll get to that in a moment. Hence, comprehensive sex education is regarded as a highly controversial, right-based approach to sex education that encompasses a great deal more than just teaching children and youths about sexual intercourse and human reproduction. It's called comprehensive sex education for some reasons. And if you've heard LGBTQ before, you understand that it can be incorporated. It is also, let's just say, it's been incorporated into this particular clause, comprehensive sex education. Hence our discussion this morning on the Morning Crossfire.
We have joining us right now via the phone some of those who have raised concerns about this curriculum and the teaching of sexual education, this type of sexual education to students and children in Nigeria. Mrs. Chinelo Ojubiono joins us. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. She's on her way here. We hope you can get here in time so we can have better conversations. Well, a big question to ask is to start by looking at today, what being World Children's Day. Let's first talk about the rights of children. Now, Nigeria is a member of the UN and ratified the Convention on the Rights of Child in 1991. So we also have some laws in Nigeria that were put in place to enhance the rights of children. We can look at the Anti-Human Trafficking Law, the Child Rights Act in May 2003. We also have a lot of state-based rights, including the Ebonyi State Law on the abolition of harmful traditional practices against women and children. Edo State also has a Female Genital Mutilation Prohibition Law, Edo State Criminal Code Amendment Law, Cross River State Girl-Child Marriages and Female Circumcision Prohibition Law. So looking at all of this, do you feel that Nigeria has done enough in protecting the rights of a child?
Protecting the rights of who? A girl?
The child.
A child.
The child.
Right.
Okay. Well, to an extent, I'll say whatever steps a government takes to protect a child is in the good, right direction. But the fact is that while we are protecting the rights of the children, are we also seeking the consent of the parents? Are the parents in the know of what is right and what is wrong? And how can we help parents to achieve the goals of the government of this child's rights? That's the first question that I would like to ask. Because when we make decisions based on what we know, because we are always, at every point in time, adapting foreign policies without researching that of the local content of our own country. Because that will help us understand why people do what they do and how they do it. Let's take out the bad and then put in the good. That will be beneficial, not just for the child, but for the parents too.
Well, you've stuck up on something there. I mean, you're saying, if you look at the definition of who a child is, I mean, WHO, UNICEF, I mean, international standards would insist that a child is a full human being in his or her own rights, but who is under supervision of a parent and must be given the right atmosphere to grow up to be the best that he can be as an individual, which might mean that the influence of the parents might not particularly be to bend a child to be like them, but to allow a child explore all the opportunities available and then decide on what he or she wants to be. You don't seem to agree with this.
I'm not saying so. All I'm saying is that whatever the United Nations want to do for Nigeria, because they can't and would not help us, because they're neither Nigerians or Africans. So first of all, parents must be in the know of what rights they want these children to have. For instance, why would you, if you're telling me that my child has a right to have sex at the age of 4, and you're telling me it's a child's right, I beg to disagree. If you're telling me that my child has a right to attend school and that it is affordable because there are subsidies, I can agree with you. But when a mother who has no money can't even feed a child, you're telling the person you have to send the child to school where the person can't afford to pay school fees. What right have you given to that parent?
Indeed.
How have you enabled that parent to achieve that right you want for that child? These are questions we should be asking.
Well, I would like us to speak to the issue on ground, Mrs. Chinelu, and that is this particular topic: comprehensive sexuality education. It's one particular clause that emanated from the U.S. and other countries are adopting it right now. Let's first begin with.
Let me give you an example.
Yes, please.
I have children who go to school, and they bring their textbooks home for me to look at. One in particular is my 10-year-old child, who brings her basic technology and social studies textbook. And the first thing she asked me, Mommy, what is a spinster? And I was wondering why she was asking that question.
What did she ask you again?
Who is a spinster?
Who is a spinster?
Okay.
Yeah, and who is a bachelor?
Okay.
So I said, let me have your book. And the first thing I saw was for her to give an advice to a bachelor and a spinster on extramarital affairs.
Oh.
What does a 10-year-old child know about this affair? That's where we begin from.
This you say is a Nigerian textbook?
Yes, it's a Nigerian textbook. It's a social studies textbook, basic science and technology and social studies.
What class is she in?
She's in primary 6.
6.
To 10.
Okay.
So these are the contents of the books that are being sold to our children, even when we believe that these children are in the right school. And then you tell me that part of what my child should learn in English is how to have a pillow talk, how to masturbate. I mean, it's
how to masturbate?
Is that in the textbook as well?
Yes.
For a 10-year-old?
Yes, this is what we're talking about. And that's why I'm saying when we have rights, we should be mindful of what rights we're talking about.
You know what, Mrs. Chinelo, just hold the line. We would need to throw this out there so we can have other parents jump in on this conversation. If you're a parent and you like to chip in, please go on our...
Look at the phone lines.
Go on. I mean, it's very troubling. It's quite troubling with what Mrs. Chinelo is saying, and I'm wondering if this is the definition of comprehensive sexuality education that we have adopted as a country. Please go online on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Feel free to drop your own observations there. We would like to take as many observations as possible. Mrs. Chinelo Ojobonu is on her way to the studio. Hopefully she'll get here so we can have this one-on-one conversation with her personally and with you as well, wherever you are. Our WhatsApp portal is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805. Comprehensive sexuality education is troubling.
But then I wonder, I've read quite a lot about this. Nigeria is not the only country adopting this. Ghana has adopted.
Right.
Soweto had some issues. Even in the UK, we had stories in the middle of the year about Muslim parents who protested. About 500 parents withdrew their children from school because they were being taught gay rights, and they believed that they didn't want their children to be taught. But the world is moving to a place where people are saying better if a child understands early enough and then makes the right choices than not know and get the wrong information about what sexuality is. So I'm going to throw this hard question to you. The phone lines are buzzy. We're coming to you guys in a moment. But Mrs. Chinelo, a 10-year-old, don't you think a 10-year-old child should have some form of sexual education? What limits would you expect for these kind of studies to be in school?
The truth of the matter is that parents are first educators of their children. In such matters, I should be the first person to let my children know what ought to be and what ought not to be. Because my disposition, my values, my moral system may not be the same with the teacher who is going to be teaching my child sexuality education.
But that's why there is a curriculum, so there will be a standard.
Because the curriculum does not fit. It's not age appropriate at all.
Right.
I just told you what a 10-year-old child is being taught.
And let's ask some other parents. I really would love to know. So, for your children in school, this comprehensive sexuality education, Mrs. Chinelo has told us that it's a thing in our primary schools, in the curriculum. What have you found out for your children especially? Do tell us. Let's give you the phone numbers to join us now.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Yes, we are listening. 99.3 Nigeria Info. And let's get to the phones. Remember that the first number, 01277-0993, is just a female number. And you can call that number alone. We have joining us in the studio, by the way, before we head to the phone, another parent who is also a commercial lawyer who has been pushing a big no on this comprehensive sexuality education. Mrs. Mary Ekemize, thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you for joining us, Mary. Okay, I'll let you catch your breath while we speak with Ronke.
Ronke is joining us from Ikoyi. Ronke, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah,
Good morning.
I'm actually worried somehow because I thought we were going to be talking about, sexual awareness with kids. Because I do that with my kids. I tell them that, you are not supposed to be touched in certain ways. That's my daughter and my son. But for what she's saying, that's your guess. Having a 10-year-old to have to explain what a sexual what she was extramarital affairs between a bachelor and a spinster, I don't think it concerns a 10-year-old.
Exactly.
Right.
So the point of giving an advice, I don't understand.
Really, that's exactly why we're having this conversation. Ronke, thank you so much for getting in touch. Martins is calling from Ikeja. Martins, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Very well.
Yeah, a good one, good discourse. I think we need to be careful at the level we allow some of these things to sink down. For such an issue, there should be a particular level. I don't want to say age now, but maybe level or class that should take such of teachings. For a 10-year-old student, primary school student, to be asked to explain what it means for Bachelor and Spencer to have extramarital affairs is a bit worrisome, you know. So what I think is this: you can introduce it, but know the stage. You could say from GS1 to GS3, this particular level of sexual knowledge or education.
Right.
And then you could say from JS3 or SS1, depending on what they call it in their own schools,
right,
to this level of knowledge on sexuality or sexual education. Otherwise, it could be risky. And then before you pass such a thing, look at the risk aspect of it.
Right.
Would this thing be a danger or dangerous to this particular child or this particular age grade? So that they don't start practicing this thing from such a level. Primary school, 10-year-old.
Some people would argue that whether you teach them or not, they would experiment, they would find out, they would ask questions from their mates. Many of them have phones. They will use the internet. So arguments are that the aim of this type of curriculum is to then teach them the right things. For instance, the Lagos State government plans to integrate sexual education in vocational training school curriculum. This was announced in June this year. They're saying that the curriculum of the non-formal vocational training schools in Lagos they have comprehensive sexuality education integrated in it in order to improve the life of young persons in the state while contributing to the attainment of the SDG by 2030. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Social Development, then, she's no longer in this ministry, Dr. Balogun, said that sexuality was an important aspect of human life and could not be overemphasized, and that the integration of CSE, that's comprehensive sexuality education, into the curriculum was important to the well-being of human beings. So let's ask Mary. So everyone says, I mean, you go online across the world, everyone is adopting CSE. Why don't we want it?
I think I will start from the point of even in an adult, where does sex sit?
Right.
Before I get to children. Basic needs: water, food, water, shelter. So depending then on where you sit, you get a job, and then before we have sex. And for some people, there are other things there. So even just in a regular human being, sex doesn't come until somewhere around 5.
Right. There are other things.
And there are other things. But, so depending on other people, for some people, it might be later. Why then? And so just looking at that from an adult who's developed and who understands all the risk, that's where sex sits. Why is it suddenly the most important thing? That's the first question to ask when you look at compressed sexuality education.
Right.
The second thing is children do not have, and it is a lie to say they do, the emotional intelligence to take in everything, which is also why even from schooling, we don't start from age 3 or 4 or 5 teaching them very complicated things. We start early.
Right.
Now, the sexual urge, as we all know, is very powerful. Why are we then exposing children who are not quite mature to manage all of this with very explicit? The contention isn't that children shouldn't be told what's happening with their body. It is that the context and the language of what is being taught to these kids is horrifying, to say the least. And I'm an adult, and some of them I'm wondering, okay, where do I begin to explain? What am I telling a 8-year-old child what masturbation is, what exactly do they need?
Have you seen this before? Have you had to? I'm just wondering whether you've had personal experience like Chinelo just told us about.
I haven't had personal experience. I'm not a parent. I'm just an aunt. So I have nieces and nephews.
Right.
And my oldest niece is about 6.5. I have never had her come to me to say, Auntie, what is this? In terms of, I'm feeling this way, and I'm fairly close, and I pay attention to what's going on in their lives.
Right.
So when I see classes saying that, we have to teach children from age 5 to experiment, I wonder, because I've got nieces and nephews who are about the same age, and they're not looking to experiment.
But let's underline: are they being taught to experiment, or they're being taught? I'm still wrapping my head around what a 5-year-old or 6-year-old needs to know, needs to learn about masturbation. But the argument would be, it's just a term, it's just a thing, and we're just teaching them what it is. Are they teaching them to do it, or to just explain the term?
My question is, what does a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-year-old child need masturbation to know that what the word means in the grand scheme of things? If what we're looking to protect is protect children from being abused, depending again on the age of the child, shouldn't I be saying, only you cannot let any person touch you in your vagina, or if anybody does anything that you don't like, tell mommy, tell daddy, tell this aunt, tell this uncle, scream.
Right.
Isn't that what I should be doing?
Right.
Because I know children are children.
But then
once I put words in their mouth and things, they will try it out.
Are we overreacting here? Do we have the right context as to where those words masturbation come in, and the other ones, what are they teaching them exactly about it? Are they saying they should stay away from it? Because I've not seen it, so I can't really say. That's why I'm particular about the context we're talking about.
In one of the instances that I'm aware of, it was a father who came home, and his child was asking him, Dad, what is masturbation?
Ouch.
And you're wondering, where exactly do I begin to explain what this is about to... She was 8 at the time. And he's a bit flustered, so he wanted to see what was going on, was looking through textbooks and thought, okay, what's going on? Now, if you don't answer that question, problem, because she's going to find out.
Exactly.
And then, how do you answer that question? Regardless of how you address it in the context of a home, you're putting ideas in a child who has no business, would ordinarily not have found this out until she was much older and possibly ready. Right. Is what I'm saying.
Well, Nigeria has a guideline for comprehensive sexuality education. You might want to take your time to read through it. It's quite a long, full document. UNESCO, you can find it on the UNESCO page, and there's a guideline here. And these guidelines, I'll just summarize. The description presents a comprehensive approach to sexuality education, encompassing the key components of a broad definition of sexuality, which includes sexual development, reproductive health, interpersonal relationships, affection, intimacy, body image, and gender roles. So here we go.
Okay, so I did spend some time reading, but actually WSO's definition on what sexuality is, and I paused. I thought, oh, really? We have to. I think for me, my biggest concern is that from even an ideological perspective, would differ in terms of what our African values are and what this is coming from.
Absolutely.
Sex has a context. It is within, and it always has to be within that context. I'm all for gender empowerment, but I'm also looking outside at the countries where they're experimenting this, where they've been working on this for years, and I don't like what I'm saying. And the madness isn't ending anytime soon. I'm really sorry. We've gone from gender roles to LGBT to now requiring, regardless of your religious convictions or otherwise, not just to affirm them, but to recognize and in some cases they're asking religions to accommodate. This isn't my personal view, just looking at what's going on in other countries. This isn't about sexuality. It's about really imposing my view, what some technocrats really think should be the way the world is run.
Chinelo, what do you think this is about? Educating our kids or an incursion into our morals as Africans?
I'd like to say something. In the social studies textbook, he said, ways and means of enjoying sexual pleasure without genital contact.
Oh, wow.
Wait a minute. Social studies, ways and means of enjoying
sexual pleasure without genital contact.
Oh,
I see.
my.
You're beginning to see where this is leading to. Because in the first place, why did we start teaching sexuality education? To protect the children from unwanted pregnancies or sexually transmitted infections or sexually transmitted diseases.
Right.
And then we now deviate, and it wasn't enough for us. We now call it comprehensive. What is comprehensive about sexuality education? That's the question. I'm asking questions because each time I think through it really bothers me. Because what we are doing is that we're sexually indoctrinating our children, turning them into perverts before they're even grown.
They are ready.
Let me hold you there, Chinelo. We'll come back to talk about what we truly then need to protect. I mean, if we don't like one thing, what do we really then want? And we'll get back to the phones to take your comments on this conversation. Remember, you can now head over to our socials. Twitter handle is at Nigeria Info FM. You can also leave us a comment on WhatsApp. The number is 08095 97 5805, 08095 97 5805. We're back right after this break. We have Chinelo Ojubionu with us over the phone and Mary Kemeze with us live in the studio. Today is World Children's Day, and we're taking a look about the concerns of Nigerian parents about comprehensive sexuality education being taught in our curriculum in Nigeria. Sending your comments, we'll take your calls after the break. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment. on your number one talk news and sports station. This is the Morning Crossfire with Wemimo and Sheriff.
We're back as a Morning Crossfire 99.3 Nigeria Info, and the conversation continued here in the studio. We're trying to understand how bad really is it. It's World Children's Day, and we're looking at comprehensive sexuality education in our school curriculums, particularly for children in primary schools and secondary schools. And the big question is, when do we start to teach them about sexuality, and precisely what do we teach them? How comprehensive should this be? You might want to note that several countries have adopted the CSC, including the Lagos State government, because the aim, like it's been pushed generally, is to say that we're increasing the awareness of children about their bodies, about what's happening around them, about cultures, about the differences happening around. But many parents have raised concerns about how this might actually affect how children reason. And I'm wondering, Nigeria, homosexuality right now is illegal. So if we're playing with the idea of teaching gender roles, this looks like an irony to me. So I'm not sure if there are particularly teaching gender roles in schools, but the question should be, shouldn't children know that the world is changing and these things are happening in other countries? Shouldn't we tell them that this is what is happening? That in some places, in fact, even here in Nigeria, we do have homosexuals. It's illegal, but some people are still doing it, behind the scenes. So the question is, shouldn't we make them aware in time rather than they're finding out just on their own? Let's join Chinelo. She joins us back over the phone. Chinelo, what do you think about this? Shouldn't we tell them about the social changes happening around the world rather than keep it away from them and they just find out by themselves?
No one is saying that they shouldn't know. It's how it's being transmitted that we're worried about. No one. Because if I want my child, for instance, stealing is bad, so I have to let my child know that stealing is bad. And when he does, so what do I do? So when I need to teach my child sexuality education, I have to start from the age where the child will understand. Like telling the child between 2 and 3 what your private parts are. They are called private parts because they belong to you and no one else.
Right.
So these are the things that I think we parents, let me tell you the truth, we have failed, myself included. Because if I have been noticing these things in my children's books, because I started this fight in 2017. When my son came back with a literature book for his junior YS or junior exam, and he told me that this book that I should read, and all the things there were not age appropriate for a child that was 11, 12 years at that time. It wasn't. What would a child be reading that an old man is describing a 16-year-old girl's breast? It's round, it's hard, and it's succulent to suck.
Oh.
In a literature book. I have issues with this thing.
So the big question is, we have a Ministry of Education, and I see that some parents, there's a letter written in June, 9th of June precisely, 2017. So parents have been talking about this for a while. Some parents wrote a letter to the Ministry of Education then, making a complaint. The letter is titled, Complaint...
Association of Concerned Mothers,
yes,
which I belong to.
Okay. The letter is entitled Our Complaint and Observations on the Moral Content of Our Curricula. And this is Parent Teacher Association of a particular school. And there are quotes about some parts of some textbooks, literature books, especially. And I see that these books are written by Nigerians. There's one called in this letter mentioned here, The Tears of a Bride, and it's written by a Nigerian called Oyekunle Oyedeji, who's an accountant. There are others also mentioned in this book. There's an English text which was recommended for the 2017 UTME. So the big question is, if JAM recommends these books, if secondary schools recommend these books, and they have to sit for exams based on these books, what should parents do?
The whole idea, this as of today, as I speak to you, these books are no longer in schools. Because
Great.
after the 2017 press conference held by Association of Concerned Mothers, we went to the Ministry of Education in Lagos, and they denied knowledge of this book.
Oh, wow.
In fact, they said they were going to get back to us.
Okay.
But these are textbooks that have been recommended for external examination, particularly that of independence for JAM English literature. Then you talk about the junior YX. Apart from Tears of a Bride, you have Precious Little Darling, and then you have Precious Child. These are 3 books that my son, a 12-year-old, said, "Mommy, they should be burnt."
Indeed.
What we should be thinking is character-based education. That's what we lack in this country. Character-based education. Because if I teach my child what is right, he has the right to choose if he wants the wrong one or the right one.
Well, Chinelo, the thing about parental-based sexual education is quite complex. Nigeria happens to everybody. If you're a parent in Nigeria, Nigeria is hitting you so hard that you barely have time for your kids. You're out in the morning and you're coming back late at night, even if the kids are still up. All you want to do is just to have the time to yourself and just relax and reset. And
yes, Chinelo.
And weekends, if we're tired throughout the week, I'm driving. I'm coming all the way from Maryland.
Okay.
Because I have to go and drop my child in school.
Right.
I live in Sulere, and I'm driving towards your office.
Right.
So on weekends, what then do I do? What is the relationship I have with my children? Can they open up to tell me these are things that they find square in their textbooks?
But Chinelo, this is just you. There are some parents that don't even have weekends to themselves. They work all around the clock, the time. I mean, just little time. Most parents, they practically just hand over the care of their children to the help at home or
to the
teachers or to the relatives. As a matter of fact, the children even spend more time with the teachers.
Why then are we parents?
That's a big question you've thrown on the table. Let me ask Mary. You raised a comment earlier on about policies. I mean, if many parents actually trust the schools enough to leave their kids to say, well, they're there to learn, and I'm trusting that they're going to learn the right things. So, I mean, Chinelo mentioned that when they raised this issue, the Minister of Education said they had no knowledge that such books were being used in schools. That's pretty shocking that we can have books find their way into schools and the Minister of Education has no knowledge about them. So how do we plug these holes? I know that some writers, I know this for sure, some book writers just go up to the school and say, oh, I've got a book, it's fantastic, your children should read it. And some schools personally adopt these books, whether they were on the curriculum or not, and say, okay, maybe they can read it for extracurricular. How do we plug this hole?
In many ways, this is a reflection of Nigeria. And what I was going to say was Nigeria, as usual, has happened to us. But I also recognize that not particularly helpful. How do we plug those holes? While I hear you that parents are completely snowed under, and I recognize that, I think that if you choose to be a parent, you have to recognize that ultimately those children are your own, and how they turn out is about you. One of the things that the NGO I volunteer with when I'm not doing my full-time work is looking into is introducing into Nigeria the Human Dignity Curriculum.
Dignity Curriculum?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is an alternative curriculum that was developed in the United States by an NGO called YWA, World Youth Alliance, really in response to the comprehensive sexuality education, because they recognize that, look, this doesn't make sense. We're having, and really the best way to look at it is, if it was so effective, why do we still have year after year high incidences of sexual abuse?
Right.
If it was really that effective.
Right.
And what the, I'll call it HDC for short, what it seeks to do is to situate sexuality really in the context, as I said before, where does it sit? What is its purpose? It is, sex has a purpose. And that was what Chinelo did when she was talking about character-based education. What is the purpose of sex? And if we start from that, and if children recognize, so one of the, and I was looking through the materials We've been speaking to the lady to see is there a way we can even get some schools in Nigeria to even adopt this, even if it's on an extracurricular basis, to see.
Right.
So we can use that as a test case.
Right.
And one of the things they do is to help children recognize that inherently I have dignity. And so if inherently I have dignity, there are certain things that cannot be done to me because I have dignity.
Right.
And that dignity isn't based on whether I'm tall, short, beautiful, ugly, intelligent. It is because I'm human. And if we start from that perspective and the child recognizes that, well, then it means that this sex and some of these things they're saying go contrary to my dignity. And help them recognize also certain forms of behavior that even they as children have. And in the schools where they've introduced it in the US, in the Philippines, in Brazil, and they're looking also, trying to make inroads in some countries in Africa. I know they're talking to, I believe, Uganda at the moment.
Right.
They're seeing changes in how these children approach not just themselves, but how they also relate and how they understand, how they're able to sort of say to you, well, I don't think that this can be taught in this class because of it goes against not just values, but who am I?
Should there be consultation between the parents and the schools, most importantly right now, as to the kind of books the children should be given before these books are distributed?
There should be consultation. Actually, I would even say I think that the PTA should rise up and have a say in what goes on at the Ministry of Education.
Right.
Because guess what? Whatever the ministry comes up with is what the children are going to learn.
That's the question. Someone said we need to start sexual education in Nigeria because those people clearly don't know what consent and human respect is. So this is from Dolani Robert on Twitter, who's saying we need to start. He's all for sexual education in schools. Joy Forever says this is a clarion call. I will ask for all my children's textbooks and read them through. I only help them do assignments. The problem is that the curriculum has changed and textbooks are not regulated by Ministry of Education. We all need help. Delani Robert here also says health education encompasses such areas as sexual and reproductive health, environmental health, physical health, social health, mental health, and so on. The state of health in Nigeria, state of health, I really do not get your last sentence, but let me head quickly to WhatsApp. Yomi from Berger here says appropriate sexual education and orientation is important. We've got to be ahead of children of the 21st century who can outsmart you. What you're trying to prevent, they will actually and eventually learn. Simon from Lagos says comprehensive sexuality education. Well, kids will find out anyway. Understand the emotional intelligence aspect of them dealing with it, but I think it builds them better to know and prepare than being ignorant. It says most grown-ups learn about these things too late, and some people fall victim and have to deal with it for the rest of their lives. With the internet, nothing is hidden. Nothing, says Simon from Lagos, and he says teach them.
Let's go to Facebook. Chinedu Igwe on Facebook says, I'm alarmed at the kind of things I'm hearing this morning. Calls for closer watch and scrutiny of our children's classworks. Honestly, I must begin to look into their homeworks and assignments. Weok Mbat says, go on YouTube and watch this video. This agenda has been on for a while, and many activists worldwide have been fighting against this agenda. He actually shared a video on our Facebook page, and Raphael Adewuni says, I think the government should liaise with both private and public companies to request their work time or to readjust their work time to enable parents have more time with their children. Or work schedule should be based on shifts. Also, the Ministry of Education should restructure the education curriculum. Ebuka Cipro says the problem with Nigeria is that we're fast forgetting our culture and values, chasing Western culture, which is what is causing moral breakdown in our African culture and lifestyle. Look at, like Fela said long time ago, they use big grammar to dabaru our head. Eloka from Ikorodu. Let's go to the phone lines right now. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Thank God. My name is Gbenga. I'm calling from Ayobo.
Welcome, Gbenga.
Yes, well, every parent must be very ashamed. They are afraid this. I want to give you a practical example of what happened some years back.
All right.
when I was living around Nebuteweta, Maoko to be precise. Now there's this NGO that came into the neighborhood to focus on girls between the age of 9 to 13.
Right.
They want to teach them about AIDS and HIV and sex education to be precise. Now, you know later on the thing counterproductive. I will give you reason. Those children were taught how to know they were taught sexual education and everything. They understand their body and everything. But majority of those girls later became wayward because they now know how to protect themselves. See, this thing can be counterproductive.
Well, some people will disagree with you and say whether you teach them or not, some children will experiment.
Find out.
Let me give you some numbers.
That's usually not good.
Right, thank you for calling. Let me give you some numbers here. In Nigeria, 2% of girls aged 15 to 19 and 1% of boys aged 15 to 19 are HIV infected. According to the Nigerian Demographic Health Survey, 23% of girls aged 15 to 19 are either mothers or pregnant with their first child. Also, another stat from the Nigerian Association for the Promotion of Adolescent Health and Development and hospital-based research reveals that 80% of patients with abortion complications are adolescents. Now, this shows that over 16% of teenage females reported their first sexual intercourse by the age of 15, while 8% of boys started having the first encounters with sex at the age of 15. So the big question is, aren't these children trying these things out anyway? If you don't have our phone numbers, here they are.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Well, Mary has a thought on this one. Says, well, that's 15 years old, so I start at 5. But there's an interesting comment from WhatsApp.
Just hold on a bit. Moses has been on the line for a while. Moses, thank you for holding the line.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To everyone in the studio. Do you know why growing up we were taught sex education right from infancy? Because I know I grew up hearing this word that if your body touch the opposite sex, that she's going to get pregnant. So you are afraid. Yes, this is not real, but you are afraid. But sincerely, today, how many people teaches their children right from infancy? See, there are small things you can tell these children to know that sex is wrong totally. How many people use this word today that sex is for married people? People adopt Western life, helps nobody. As Fela talk, big grammar, no, they put money for pocket. Let's forget all these Western words. Pick what is good. Filter whatever they give to you. Let's forget this is what they do all over the world. What everybody does not make anything right.
Well, thank you very much, Moses. Anonymous on WhatsApp says, good morning, everyone in the studio. Today's topic means a lot to me. We need to nip this in the bud. It says, so many parents don't know what their words are exposed to. The personal experience he shared, it said, from a very young age, I loved reading. And once I see a big term, big grammar, I go for the dictionary. That was how I got exposed to knowing what masturbation is without being taught or told. I discovered it by myself, and I'm still battling with the habits. Says more attention needs to be paid to this matter. Values are going to be more eroded if nothing is done. But some parents would argue and say, I'd rather they're taught. So, I mean, it's a mix.
That's right.
Of the whole thing.
Emmanuel joins us from Lekki. Emmanuel, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Quadry, is that also?
Yes, please.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I just want to quickly contribute to the sex education.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. I think this is a very wonderful lesson, really teaching. We have to bring it to our society. But what I just want to say, please, let us begin to look at the age of the children to be taught this. Because sometimes when you want to teach children something unknowingly to you, may be exposing it to them. You know the kind of children we have today, they are very smart and they are very intelligent. So if you are bringing this to the society, you have to consider the age of those children you want to expose this to. Make sure they don't go to below age make sure they're already getting to the age of, should I say, adolescence, so they have the proper reasoning. Because by the time you're bringing this to maybe a girl below 9, 8, you just as if you are bringing more dangers to them. Okay, that is mine. But then, Mr. Quadry, please, yesterday I called on your program concerning Mr. Anthony and some other directors for financials. I was the one.
Oh, okay, for the business training thing?
Yes. So I don't get a response, really. And
please send a message to our WhatsApp number, please.
Okay, how do I get the WhatsApp number?
Just drop the line, I'll call it again.
Okay, thank you.
Let me read a comment while I wait for you to drop the line. James from Ikorodu on WhatsApp says, good morning to you all in the house. Basic sex education is good for children of such age, but we need professional and trained teachers to do it. If not, reverse may be the case. The WhatsApp number is 08095975805, 08095975805, and you can tweet at us at Nigeria Info FM. Roland Williams on Twitter says, comprehensive sex education without the spiritual part of it is comprehensively incomplete anywhere and anytime. Well, like we said, different strokes for different folks across the country.
Right. Jonathan from Badagry says, is calling us right now. Jonathan, good morning to you.
Yes, Sheriff, how are you doing?
Morning.
Good morning, Wemimo.
Morning, Jonathan.
Bringing this topic on board. I think I really want to appreciate your guest, Mrs. Chinelo, and all our thoughts and all our submissions. Those are facts, whether we like it or not. I think, as far as I'm concerned, we should be teaching character-based knowledge more than sex. That will have taken care of sexual issues, as far as I'm concerned. That's what she said, and I quite agree with that. And it will further take care of so many other things that are befalling us or facing us as a country today. But rather, we will not do that. And more so, I told you I just changed the school of my children. What people, apart from the textbook they are using, their activities are out of line as far as I'm concerned. A lot of their activities are out of line, especially private schools. And also, I also told you that my first child just got admission to secondary federal government college. There are textbooks that I bought, that I saw, that I was so sure. These are textbooks that I used far back. You don't see those textbooks in private schools. You don't see them.
So does it mean there's a different standard for public schools and another standard for private schools?
Nobody is checking these things for private. Nobody is checking them. And it's a keg of gunfire we don't know. They are just there. Lots of them, not all of them. Lots of them are there to make money.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much for calling. We need to begin to go right now because we are out of time. Hopefully, we were hoping that Chinelo will be able to join us before we wrap up this morning.
Oh, well, she joined us over the phone. We're so sorry, traffic has showed you quite something this morning, but we thank you very much for joining the show and sharing your thoughts. It's been amazing having this conversation. Mrs. Chinelo Ojubionu, thank you so much for your time on the show today.
Thank you.
And we also have Mary Ekemeze join us live. She's a commercial lawyer and she's also actively involved in these issues. So thank you, Mary, for joining us.
Thank you.
Nigeria will have more conversations coming up on Nigeria Info throughout the day. We're your best news, talk and sports station. Keep talking to us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. And we'll see you tomorrow morning with more conversations. Another interesting topic, engaging one that would love you to be a part of.
Right.
We thank Tosia Kenride, Yvonne Hoifor, and Zenab Yakin for assisting. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry.
More talk, news and sports after this.